Okay. So anyway, we're going in, we're going to be changing the measurement documents. We're setting measurement documents up, showing you how to change them. So if you double click on it and you go to measuring points, you see here we have hour meters, we got frame hours, torque hours, and transmission hours. Well, what you can do is you can transfer this all the measurement documents that are created. What we usually do is you put the measurement documents on engine hours. So whenever there's an engine, we do a PM on it, all the hours go to that PM engine hours. And any hours, then what I do is I make a separate one for frame hours. So the right? So everything that goes on the engine hours, whatever the difference is between the two, if you had 300 hours and then you went to 600 hours, there would be 300 hours difference. That would be added to the frame hours. And then then it also will be added to the torque converter hours and the transmission hours. So what you want to do is you want to set this up so you only have to put the hours in on the PMs one time, and it'll automatically transfer to the frame hours. Now, for some reason, if you change the torque converter, you can reset the hours on this to 0, and then when you do the engine hours, it's automatically going to put 300 hours on the torque converter hours because it's a brand new torque converter or a brand new transmission. So what we want to do is right now, if you select all of these, you can go in and you can see how each one is set up by clicking this, and you can go in, and if you look, this is where this supports this, but this is the engine hour, so we don't want to have it supported anything. That's the main counter we're going to use to put our counter readings in. But if we go to the next one, you can see it's supported, and it's using the engine hours. If you look at the engine hour number here, see that's the 68,760.89. So if you look here, we're taking that number, and that's the number we're going to copy off of. Control C, and it's supported. And if you go in here, well, you don't have to go in here because this one we're not going to use, or this one we are going to use, but it's already set up. So we want to go to the next one, which is the torque hours. So to set this up, we can say support it. We don't even have to put it, but you can put support it. Go in here, go into manually assign. You go Control V because we're using the engine hours, the hours that we're always going to put whenever we take counter readings, that's where we're going to put it on that counter, and it's going to transfer over onto all the other counters I created. And you can create other counters. You can do frame hours, you can do generator hours, whatever, but this is the main ones I know that mobile does. So you go ahead and green check it. It's going to say transfer measurement readings. You transfer from that object. Yes, green check it. And then you just green check it. And then it's on there. So then you go the next one over, which is the transmission hours. You say support it. You go here. You say manually assign. You go Control V and put the engine hours in there. Say yes, transfer. Green check that. And then that one's in. I think that's it. That's the end of it. So now you see all of them are checked, and they're all going to refer to this one. So now we back out because you cannot put a counter reading in right now. But what we want to do is check the counter reading, the measurement document of this first one. So like I showed you before, the measurement document was 10,459. So we want to take that number, Control C, and we're going to use it to update the other ones. So when it starts counting, because all this is new machine. So we need to back out of here. We want to save it. Yes, save it. because we made changes in this. So now what we want to do is we want to take this equipment number 67089 and we want to add a counter reading. Oh, real quick, we got to go back into it because we have to measurement documents. We got to select these. Well, this one we don't need because it already has it. But these two, and we have to activate them because I deactivated them. So activate them, and then we're going to go to the next. See, it says it's been activated. We're going to go to the next one. Measuring point, function, activate. And then we're going to back out. Now we're going to save it. Because these two, this one already has it working. If you look at this measurement document, it already has the correct measurement in here. So if I run it, you'll see it has 10,459. So that is correct. So the frame and engine hours is the same. But if you look here, I have no documents for this one because we just turned it on. So if I run it now, you'll see there's nothing. It says no objects were selected. So now we back out and we save it. Yes, save. So now we're going to go in and we're going to create a document, a measurement document. So you go into this transaction, which the transaction code, I can't remember what we're going to find out right now. It's IK22. So IK22 is the transaction. You put in that number, and you go enter, and then you see where it says all measurement documents. Now it's going to show those three. As you see, the frame hours ain't in here because I didn't activate it. Now later we're going to go back into the equipment master, and we're going to put them, deactivate them. It'll still carry over those numbers from the engine hours, but we're going to, right now we're going to put in the engine hours we don't need to do. So just because it's up there, it doesn't mean you have to put it in. But we're going to set these to exactly what we want. So again, you have to click this button here, and you have to go in to measurement document function, and you're going to, let's see, function, edit, replace counter. So you want to go in here and replace counter. You want total counter reader set exactly. So we want to set exactly the beginning and the ending hours just like it was on the engine hours. So they're all reading the same because nothing has been changed. Now if you were to change this and you put a brand new torque converter in it, you would set them to 0 because now that torque converter, let's say this torque converter here is now set to 0. And then any new counter readings that would show up on that engine hours would be the correct hours. Because it's only carrying over the difference between the last time you did the counter reading to the new counter reading on the engine hours. Because if you change the engine, that would change. So anyway, you want to set exactly. And we said the hour meter was what? 10,459. And you want here, same thing, 10,459. They enter, they're in there. Now, you can copy that just so I don't have to do it again, type it in there. So now we're going to go to the next one. And we're going to do the same thing, edit, replace counter, total exactly. And we're going to put in here the same thing, Control V, enter. Now you're going to back out. Now, when do you want to start this counter reading? We're going to go ahead and just start it today. Because again, you can't, if there was a counter reading previous to this, if there was one that you put in and you, on today's date, and then later you want to put a counter in later, before that, it won't let you do it because you already have this counter reading. So if we really could go back in and do the last counter reading that the engine hours was put in, but because I don't know that, I'm just going to put in today's date, because any new counter reading put in after this is going to accept it. So you can see the 10,459, 10,459. So I'm going to save it. So now it just put new counters in. So now when I go back to that piece of equipment, and I go back into change mode, go back to the counter. Now if I look at the counter reading for the torque converter, and I say measurement document, it's only going to show 1. So it's not going to show a list, it's just going to show 1, and you see it's in there. So now once we put the second one in, it'll show up as a list. So if you look here on the frame hours, you're going to see it's going to show up. It's going to show up as a list. See, there's a list, and it's going to show you. So what we want to do now too is we want to go back in here. We want to turn off those counters, just deactivate them. So this one and this one we had activated in order to do to put some hours on there, to take a counter reading. So now we got to go in here, go function, activate. We want to deactivate it. Now it's going to give you a warning. It says, look, measurement reading transfer is still active. So it's still going to read it. It's just not going. It's still going to take that information from the engine hours. So we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go edit our function, and we're going to deactivate. And then you say OK, deactivate, and now we're going to save it. Back out completely, save. So now if you look, the next time anybody puts a counter reading in here, it's only going to show up 1. It's only going to show up the dash hours. So that way nobody makes a mistake and accidentally puts frame hours in and engine. You don't want nobody messing with those, because that's going to be done automatically through the engine hours. So that's how we're